Scott with SJWellfire.com, Final Days Report, episode 487. Are data centers' true purpose to open up demonic portals and ultimately this mark of the beast surveillance system? We'll show the evidence, my friends. Also, the second story I want to cover is Trump building a parallel government system that reports into the executive office. We'll show the receipts. This, my friends, needs to be shared to as many places as you can share it. All right, the first story I want to cover, and this ate at me a little bit. I heard somebody just do a quick short on the data center noise, and it was a screeching noise. I can't find it. The one that alarmed me. I'm like, are these demons? Are these demons that we're hearing? It's just demonic, my friends. And this is from the New Yorker. The headline is, Sam Altman may control our future. Can he be trusted? And here's a snippet from the article. Former OpenAI executive, the truth is we are building portals from which we're genuinely summoning aliens. The portals currently exist in the US and China, and Sam has added one in the Middle East. It's the most reckless thing that has been done. Now, the spinmeisters are going to try to say, oh, he's just talking about how they're creating chaos. No, but the truth of this is we're building portals from which we're genuinely summoning aliens. A former OpenAI executive said that worked with Sam Altman. You cannot make any of this up. Reminds me of Revelation 9. We'll read that in the end. But ultimately, this is the beast system, the mark of the beast system, the spy oppression system that's coming. And this article reminds me of Gordy Rose. We've covered him. He's the person that funded D-Wave Computers. Check out Gordy Rose in his comments of summoning in these aliens. They don't care for us. They think we're ants. Personally, I think they know their time is short and they want to steal as many souls as they can. But what do you think about this? Former OpenAI exec, the truth is we're building portals from which we're genuinely summoning aliens. This also reminds me of NASA and the satanic roots of NASA that we've covered over the years. And it gets more nefarious. I'm going to quote Dre Dossier in her work. But before I quote and show some videos of her investigative journalism, basically this national design studio building 40 government websites that report into the executive office, not the federal agencies. It's an abomination from the pit of hell. But you need to think about this. This is that technocracy government. USA Inc. is insolvent. Fortune magazine, we've covered that for many, many years. AI is taking most of the jobs, so they're going to be pushing universal basic income. Then we've covered how DOGE scanned the government processes and your information, right? DOGE is EGOT backwards. Then we have Palantir, the spy system. I think that's the mark of the beast enforcement system with others. I'll cover another one that just creeped up in my feed. Then we have the Genesis mission that we've covered, this private public fast track of AI. Then we have the Solstice supercomputer. I think it potentially could link to the Ballroom. I think that's being built in Illinois, if memory serves correctly. Then we have Stargate, the second day of Trump's administration announcing that $500 billion investment for this massive data center. Stargate screams portal opening. And we've covered ICE and ICE prisons they're building everywhere. I think ICE is the mark of the beast, Noahide Arm, enforcement arm. Then the new business system that's coming. They're tokenizing everything, this new financial model, launching stable coins. This is knowing everything about you. And last but not least, the 6G that ties to the brain-computer interface, this mark of the beast system that will have read-write capability, where you will ultimately blaspheme the Holy Ghost. But to set this up, she unlocked this national design studio. It's going to get a little bit technical, but I want to first start with what she thinks after all of her investigation of what's happening. I think she's absolutely right. Now, my personal take on her, even though she's a really good investigative journalist, I don't think she's saved. She's not tying all these pieces I just talked about of why and how, and she's not tying it to the Bible prophecy. And she is caught in the right-left paradigm a bit. Let's play it.
So what do I think is happening here? What do I think the purpose of all of this is? I think to me, clearly, the purpose is to pull all of the parts of the federal government that actually touch you away from the agencies that legally own them and rebuild them on an infrastructure that the White House and the executive office fully controls. And once you control the front doors, well, you need somewhere to put all of the data that's going to come through them, right? Somewhere that only the executive office can reach, which is, I think, the entire point of what is being built 6 stories underground in DC under the executive office of the president. And then with that, the Presidential Records Act closes the door right behind it, because the day that the administration ends, in 2028, God willing, everything seals for the next 12 years. So until 2040, nobody outside the White House gets to see who worked there, what they collected, or what data went where. And look, and I know that sounds all very overwhelming.
Are we dealing with the little horn, my friends? All right, I'm going to play this longer video that gets more into the details. And again, she has unlocked the interface to your data, like passports, or what I think will be the mark of the beast, will go to the executive office or the future Antichrist and false prophet. Remember, the false prophet is the one that brings on the mark of the beast. We've done maybe 7, 8 podcasts. Is Elon Musk the false prophet? He has all the capabilities of the false prophet. Old Baphomet boy. And this executive order has hijacked federal agencies. It's nuts. And before I play her, another Palantir type corporation, you can't make this up. I've always said, and I've actually read articles from Chabad Lupovich, that AI is the next Tower of Babel. So now we have BabelStreet.com that is working alongside the government, and the likes of Palantir is a data analytics and risk intelligence company that provides AI-powered surveillance and monitoring tools for government, defense, law enforcement, and commercial enterprises. They use these AI agents. It is such a wicked time, my friends.
And so I typed in the studio's domain with a wildcard, which is just a little asterisk at the beginning of it as a way of telling it to show me every certificate ever issued for any subdomain under ndstudio.gov. And the search took about 30 seconds, and what it came back with was... yeah, it returned with no less than 40 more entries attached to ndstudio.gov. None of them announced anywhere, with no links pointing them from any public page. And I just need to read some of these names off to you guys, okay? Because these were sites that looked like they belonged to different, departments, right, of the federal government, like state departments and to NASA and the Department of Homeland Security. But they don't. They, in fact, don't. And I logged all of these in an Excel sheet with the domain, subdomain, when it was first seen, last seen, the certificate issuer, all of that, which will be available on my Substack. And so if you want to go look any deeper, by all means, have at it. But a few of the ones that were most concerning to me were the ones like nasaforce.staging.ndsstudio.gov, passports.staging.ndsstudio.gov. By the way, staging is typically what developers will put when they're building a website and they've created the certificate, but it's not quite ready. It's the staging website. And the two that really concern me, votegov.previews.ndstudio.gov and FBIKirkTipline.previews.ndstudio.gov. Now, let the record show that these are federal agencies, which means that they do not belong to the National Design Studio, right? These don't belong to the National Design Studio, right? Yeah, well, about that. I checked the public ownership records for each of these subdomains, just to be sure, and every single one of them, all 40-something that I could find, traced back to the same place. The Executive Office of the President. Yeah, so the National Design Agency has built pre-launch versions of websites that look like they belong to federal agencies and registered them all to the White House. Because remember, the White House is the executive.
It's trickery. This is total trickery. And the person that is involved with the National Design Studio actually is linked heavy to Sam Altman. You can't make this up. It's one big club. This is the technocracy mark of the beast system takeover, summoning in demons, as Gordy Rose talked about.
Executive office. And when things are under the executive office's control, it means that they don't always have to have congressional oversight, i.e. the ballroom.
She nails it. She absolutely nails it. But she's not thinking the big picture of the beast system. All right, now here's a little snippet of what they're doing. They're trying to make it a good interface and modernize it, but it reports into the executive office. One of her videos, she called an agency and they had no clue what the website was about. They're like, no, that's not part of our agency. We're being hoodwinked, my friends.
The analogy I give is an Apple Store-like experience. What if the government had great design, amazing usability, running on modern software? At its biggest mandate, it's in the next 3 years, how do we touch every digital surface of the United States government? And the private sector's reached out as well. So the support of Founders Fund and Peter Thiel, A16Z and Mark Andreessen, 8VC and Joe Lonsdale, Thrive and Josh.
See, that is key. The private sector.
Kushner.
This is branded civilization scale.
That, my friends, is Joe Gebbia. He runs one of the most dangerous offices in the White House right now, and it's called the National Design Studio. Yeah, this is what I like to call DEFCON 1 territory, okay? Because what I believe they are doing is building a parallel federal government inside the executive branch on private infrastructure. And it is all being built by the same people who got sued the last time they touched any federal data. Now, I've been investigating the National Design Studio for the better half of 2 weeks now, and what I have found, especially over the last few days, has shaken me to my core. Honestly, it has made me very scared. Now, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, then you'll know that over the past few months, I've been covering two main stories. The first being this ballroom that's going up in place of the East Wing and the military apparatus that they are building underneath it, which Donald Trump has admitted on camera goes 6 stories underground and includes a military hospital and research facilities, etc., etc.
What you don't see are the floors that are beneath here, and they have very, very important rooms there. The most important. We went down 6 stories.
And the second is the Genesis mission, which is the federal AI program, which I believe is being built around Oracle and the largest supercomputer in American history called Solstice. And I've been saying for a while now that these two stories are connected, but there has to be some layer in between. Some piece of digital infrastructure that is linking the underground hardware to the data that's being assembled by the AI program. And it is through my investigation of the National Design Studio that I think I found that layer. And I found it almost by accident, which doesn't make it any more pleasant, but here we are. So earlier this week, I was perusing TrumpRx, right, as one does, the new federal prescription drug pricing website. I was curious. I just wanted to see what they had going on. So I was scrolling around, and at the bottom of the page, I noticed something that I have not noticed on any other federal website. In the footer of the page, it said, right above the privacy policy, designed and engineered in DC by National Design Studio. The whole website, by the way, looks like it was created on Wix with widgets, and it's bizarre. But that line in particular is pretty weird because federal websites don't have design bylines. I mean, the IRS does not credit the design studio for that website, neither does Social Security or the FBI. Like, nobody does that with federal government websites. Moreover, the design studio is hyperlinked to it. So when you click on it, it takes you to the National Design Studio's website, which I don't love, and in a minute, you're gonna see why. Now, National Design Studio, which I'll be referring to as NDS throughout this video, reads more like a tech startup than anything else. And the site itself doesn't really tell you much beyond the mission statement language and recruiting copy. Like, it's very boilerplate and very in your face with how hip and cool it is. Very Silicon Valley. And there was no page telling you about who was on the team or who was running it. So I had to do a little digging, and the first name that came back to me was somebody named Joe Gebbia. He is known as the Chief Design Officer of the United States, working with NDS. Now, you probably have never heard of Joe Gebbia. Lord knows I hadn't before this. But fear not, he's the co-founder of Airbnb. So, if anybody knows how to improve public spaces, it's the company that took residential spaces and made sure the public could never actually afford them again. He stepped back from Airbnb in 2022, but it's the years since then and now that really interest me, because in September of 2022, Tesla appointed him to their board of directors. Yes, in fact, the seat he took had just been vacated by Larry Ellison. Yes, that Larry Ellison, the founder and chairman of Oracle. And hold on to old Larry Berry and Oracle in the back of your head, okay? Because this is going to come back up in a moment. Then in August of 2025, Donald Trump signed an executive order creating a brand new federal office called the National Design Studio. This is also when he created the brand new federal title to go with it, the Chief Design Officer of the United States. And Joe Gebbia was named that title on day one, and he reports directly to the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. Which is bizarre, right? I mean, a National Design Studio reporting to the White House Chief of Staff, like, that's not how this works. Why is it working like that? Well, it's because the National Design Studio is staffed under a federal hiring authority called Section 3161, which was originally written for temporary advising bodies. And since they're working under that authority, that means almost everyone working at the National Design Studio is either a part-time advisor or a volunteer. You know how billionaires like to volunteer their time for federal design agencies. And so they don't show up on the White House salary report, nor do they file any financial disclosures that the public, who has a financial stake in what they're doing, can see. They were also not confirmed by the Senate, and they answer to no inspector general because the executive office of the president does not have one. Well, where have I heard this before? See, a brand new office inside the White House, staffed by people who are invisible to the federal disclosure process, answering to no independent oversight. Where have I heard that before? Oh, that's right, because that's exactly how DOGE was run. And DOGE, lest we forget, in its very short, very horrific run, gutted federal agencies, fired tens of thousands of career civil servants, and is currently the defendant in multiple federal lawsuits. And more specifically, those lawsuits are for letting engineers access Social Security data and the Department of Homeland Security data and share that sensitive federal data with outside parties trying to overturn elections. That DOGE.
Trump and these technocrats are building the parallel beast system, the front end interface on how you will engage with this beast government. She did a great job. I'll put the links below on her 2 podcasts on this. All this reminds me of Revelation 9 in terms of the data centers, the first story. Let's read a little bit. And this is very, very, I guess, debated what exactly Revelation 9 means. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. I think those are demons. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as a torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee for them. Wild time to be alive, my friends. You think about this with these data centers and then the whole alien agenda. That's my next podcast, of these UFO researchers mocking Christianity. That no, these aliens are here, these demons, I think they're demons, fallen angels, are here to help us. And you Christians are just foolish for this golden age. Like, it is bad. The Disclosure movie, it's wickedness. Great time to be alive, my friends, because prophecy is unfolding right before your eyes. God bless. Thanks for your support. Make sure you share this, old school Post-it notes, conversation, letters. Thanks for your support.